Let's talk about what contractors need to know about excess liability requirements. If you're a contractor bidding on jobs, here's something that can catch you off guard. Your contract may require you to carry higher excess liability limits than you currently have. And if you don't meet those requirements, you could lose a job, or worse, you could be in breach of contract if you've already won it. Before you sign that contract, take a close look at the insurance section and ask yourself these key questions. What excess or umbrella liability limits are required? Many projects, especially larger commercial or municipal ones, require 5 or 10 million or even more in excess liability coverage. 2, you should be asking, are there any additional insured or special endorsement requirements? Do you meet these? And if not, just be aware these additional insureds often require wording like primary, non-contributory, waiver, subrogation, etc. Depending on some of these, it could cost extra money depending on specifically what they're looking for, so it's good to ask your insurance agent if you meet the requirements. The third thing you want to ask is how long do you need to maintain these limits? Some contracts require you to carry those higher limits even after the project is done, sometimes for years, to cover the products and completed operations exposure. If you win the bid, but your current excess liabilities aren't high enough, what do? Well, you got a few options. One is you can increase your current existing umbrella or excess liability policy. This is usually the easiest do, but can also be the most expensive because you're increasing the policy that covers your entire operation. The second option would be to purchase a project-specific excess liability policy, which would basically increase your excess liability limits just for that one specific job. This is typically the most cost-effective of the two options, but it's less coverage. The third option you have is to go back to your client or the GC or whoever it may be and negotiate the requirements. In some cases, contract insurance requirements can be negotiated, especially if you have a strong record of safety and financials. Typically though, you'll have most success doing this before you actually submit the bid or get the job. So what happens if you let coverage lapse too soon if your contract required it to carry for a longer period of time? Let's say that the contract requires you to keep the excess liability coverage for 2 or 3 years after the project ends, but you drop it as soon as the project is done. What happens if a claim comes years later? If your coverage is lapsed, you could be forced to pay out of pocket for any damages that come. Worse, if the contract required this coverage, you could be in breach of contract, which could lead to legal disputes, withheld payments, or even trouble getting future work with that contractor. At our agency, we work with contractors day to day to make sure that they meet their insurance requirements without overpaying for the coverage they don't need. If you're bidding on a job and want to make sure your insurance is set up correctly, or if you need a quick quote for higher excess limits, give us a call. We'd love to help protect your business, stay compliant, and win more jobs with confidence.